Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Project Temporality. This is, well, let's get it out of the way right off the bat. You like Portal? You like your games, sectioned into test chambers with, unique kind of puzzle platforming design. Portal came out, what, like 7 years ago now? There's plenty of games that kind of ape that formula. I'm not going to call them ripoffs. It's a subgenre at this point. You know, not every first-person shooter is ripping off Doom. So yeah, this is within the Portal-like subgenre, if you want to call it that. But instead of having a gimmick of portals, or, paint, or magnets, or laser beams, or gravity, or something like that, this one deals with time travel, which lends itself to some more intricate puzzle design, some more novel puzzle design, and some seriously devilish fucking puzzle design. Very difficult game. I played about an hour of it so far. Comes out on Steam this week from Defrost Games. Admittedly, I have no idea how much it costs. That being said, let's begin. We're probably going to play through the first 3 test tracks, which might take us around 15 minutes, but it took me about an hour when I was playing Sight Unseen, because obviously, these games are a little bit, first time you see it, you got to actually suss out the actual puzzle design for yourself and figure it out. Might get a touch framey here, but it runs fine. It's just a fraps issue. So, story is not necessarily told in as engaging of a way as in a game like Portal. Most of it is just through, like, text dialogue that you kind of hear from an unseen, accomplice or narrator. But we are basically in test chambers. We're Subject 87, and scientists are putting through the motions of testing this Project Temporality, which is basically like a time travel implant implanted in our suit. Well, there's also found stuff, like journal entries, blah, blah, blah. We may read some of those, we may not. I'm using keyboard and mouse for this, by the way. It does have controller support, but all the prompts are keyboard and mouse, so I didn't feel comfortable using the controller. It seems to control fine with a keyboard and mouse. So, we're going to move on just a little bit here, and, one of the things I would mention as maybe not necessarily a major strength of the game is the kind of graphic design. It's a lot of kind of early 2000s, mid-2000s era, gray Space Marine type corridors. You look kind of like a Master Chief guy here, and that's okay, because the puzzle design more than makes up for it. It makes this into a very solid experience, but, it's also a third-person action-adventure puzzle platformer, not first-person, which I probably led you to believe by telling you that it was a Portal-like. But in any case, it's very, very similar apart from where the camera is placed. So, one of these passages will let you through while the other will trap you forever. But don't overthink this, just pick one. So we're gonna run through the left one here. We can zoom in and out on the mini-map as the game is telling us to do so. It doesn't matter which one we pick. Whatever one we pick is automatically the trap. I tested it. So that's the trap. Do you wish you could turn back time to undo your decision? Because you actually can. By holding down the left mouse button, we can actually rewind time. Now, it's a little bit Braid-like, you might be thinking, but in actuality, being able to rewind time is just the very first step. What we're actually going to be able to do, at least as far as I've gotten into the game, is create clones of ourselves, and this is going to allow us to solve much more intricate kind of puzzles, or yeah, that kind of makes sense. Ignore that, that'll sear a hole in your brain. Bad choice again. Number 87, that platform is now permanently stuck over the cold-on-carrying abyss, but that doesn't mean it always has been. Do you understand? So we can, go backwards again here, and if we just switch it over to this platform, then we should be good to go. These, like, very, very early puzzles, it just seems like, oh, make a mistake, rewind time. Make a mistake, rewind time. It's not like that. There's more interesting and subtle stuff going on here, and it is not going to take us very long at all to get into that. Excellent, the implant apparently works and you have mastered basic time manipulation. I would be gravely disappointed if that's the only thing you can do. Just proceed and we will find out. So one thing I will mention as well is that, you know how Portal is divvied up and kind of chopped up into very individual test chambers? This is not like that. I mean, it is, like, it's divided into individual levels, but each level has several puzzles on it, and they're oftentimes connected by kind of these weird little spaceship type hub world stuff here. And that's okay, but it does sometimes cause me to get a little confused. Puzzles and the elements within them will sometimes be separated by varying rooms. Sometimes I have to really look around to find the door where I'm supposed to go. And just in a, for my own personal taste, it feels a little bit more inelegant than maybe Portal's design or, Mag Runner's design or something like that. Or, Quantum Conundrum's design. So, we're going to learn about making clones here. So, we have buttons, it does abuse the kind of standard switch and button trope. By standing on red buttons and holding them down, we activate whatever their function is. There are blue buttons as well, and when we just step on those once, it's more like a toggle on-off type thing. So, we have to press the red button because it unlocks this blue door. Let's rewind time here. The blue door, as you can see... Just wait a second here, my friend. The blue door, as you can see, is behind us. So we need to unlock that, but this door closes behind us, so we've got to be careful. So what we can do is... well, let's do this again. First, we'll send our character to run in here, push down the button. That basically is a preset action. If we then use the right mouse button, we can spawn a clone of us, and the clone is what we will play as. So, you know, stop thinking of each individual player as you, and think of each individual clone instead as like a facet of you. You can create other yous. The clones are not any lesser of a player than you are. This took me a while to wrap my head around. Good, now I'll reset the puzzle, solve it again without my help. Alright, so I'm glad that they actually did this, because the first time I solved it by accident, and then when I actually did it again, I figured it out for myself. This took me a surprising amount of time to actually wrap my head around, even though it seems pretty easy. What I like to do is wait until I see that the old me is running, just so I know that they're actually going to do it, because otherwise, you know, if you go back too far, you can sometimes get confused with all the time threads that happen. You can create up to 11 clones, which is just fucking nuts. Like, as you can see, I can just spawn out like 4 of them right here, and they'll just stand there because they're not really doing anything, but then I can move on to the next area of the game. And this might be the end of the first test track here, but we'll see. Oh no, there's one more puzzle that we've got to do here. So as you can see, you know, things get more and more complex as time goes on. This will be the last puzzle for this particular test track. So I'm not going to really talk about his dialogue because I can tutorialize this stuff well enough myself. Basically, for this one, we're going to run in, and we're going to make sure we hit the blue switch first. It gets weirdly, like, kind of film-grained in a situation like this. And then we're going to spawn a clone out here, and this clone is going to run in and hit the green switch. And then we're going to go backwards even further, and by hitting... Oh, don't want to take it before we got the clone out there. By hitting both of these switches, it'll close those doors, but it should also open up that kind of exit area that you'll see before. I still haven't explained the blue bar. The blue bar at the top of the screen is basically your energy. It's your battery life available. Every time you rewind time, every time you spawn a clone, it's, Oh, yeah, this is it. Every time you spawn a clone, it'll take some of your energy away. Oh, there are more puzzles here. Sorry, okay. My mistake. The other ones will be a little bit more simplistic than this. Or just not more simplistic, but there will be less puzzles involved in each one. This one is just because of its tutorialization. I will say, the game doesn't necessarily make the best first impression with its kind of like graphic design and this really weird jump sound. You can hear this right here. Anyway, hopefully you can hear it. So what we want to do here, blue buttons, just automatically turn that on. So what we want to do is just make sure we actually land on it here. And it was a pretty easy platforming. There's... Basically, you know how oftentimes when I play puzzle platformers, I say, oh, this is a game where the puzzle solutions are easy to conceive, easy to think of, but hard to actually execute. For that, you can think of a game like Super Meat Boy, for example. It's not really a traditional puzzle platformer. The game didn't freeze, by the way. But in Super Meat Boy, you just got to get to the exit. You just got a platform to get to the exit, avoid the spikes, right? Easy to think of, hard to do. Whereas in, you know, a game like Braid, it's easy to execute things usually. There's a couple puzzles in Braid that are not like that, but it's hard to kind of conceive of how to do it because of the, you know, kind of weird time-traveling mechanics of the game. This is actually one of those rare puzzle platformers where I think it's difficult to conceive of how to solve a puzzle a lot of times, and it's difficult to actually execute. I think this has a real devilish bend to it with respect to its puzzles. So let's move on to Test Chamber 2. There will be a little bit less of, you know, our corporal here talking into our ear, and I can have a little bit more autonomy when solving the puzzles. We'll also get into some more interesting puzzle design here, so you can see how things can actually work with the cloning system and how creative the puzzles in the game can be. So, we have two switches, two buttons, I should say. This one, the green one, will push the green platform forward along this wall. The red one will push the red platform against that wall that's on the other side of the room. So, obviously, as you might expect, what we would probably want to do here is, remember, we have to be the ones that actually make it through that door. So the very first thing we will do is hit this switch. I mean, we should actually rewind because you do get judged on the amount of time that you take, and you can see that we took like 30 seconds just to suss that one out. So we can go back in time here. I wish there was a way to make time rewind faster, especially on puzzles that are like 30, 45, 60 seconds long. It's a little bit tedious to sit there and rewind like 3 seconds in 1 second. It takes a while. So first things first, we're just going to hit this switch, and that's going to cause this one to come over. And we don't need to make a clone for this. We should just then be able to hit this switch right after it. And then immediately we can rewind, and we're going to pull it way, way back here. And then we're just going to run, and hopefully we'll be able to make it in time. All right, this should be perfect. It's a pretty simple puzzle. We don't need to use more clones for it, but we could use more clones for it. And we'll stand on this one, and because we watched to see when the platform should be used, it works just fine here. So we'll be able to move on to the next puzzle. That was kind of a scary jump, but I'm trying to get a faster time than usual. So ignore that dude, and we'll move into either another puzzle or a bigger room. See, I kind of wish it was just divided into puzzles instead of, you know, with these, like, story rooms. Maybe that's just my personal take on it, though, but for things like, you know, like I want to get a fast time, as fast of a time as possible, like this is the puzzle door, but the buttons are, like, up this staircase and kind of in a different area of the map. I do find that a little bit confusing. Alright, so what's interesting about this puzzle, I'll fail it once to show you what's neat about it. Basically, there's two switches up here. You have to hit them both at the same time, and you have to hit them both within 10 seconds of one another and get through the door. So, you might be thinking first, okay, we'll just stand on one of these switches and then the timer will start. And then we'll take it back just a little bit, and we'll sprint from here after creating a clone, and we should just be able to hit that button and then maybe create another clone that can sneak out the door, right? Well, this is what I was trying to do for a little while, and I was like, man, my execution is way off, but obviously that's not going to work for us. I'm going to save us the failure message that he will give us if we bung this one up. And what we actually have to do, and this is a really good puzzle because it... Oh, come on back now. It teaches us how the placement and like when you make your clones is really important. If we try to run all the way from the left switch to the right switch, it requires almost too much time for us to be able to do it. However, if we spawn our clones right off of the bats, wait, do we want to do this? Let me think about this for a second. We're at 40 seconds. Let's take it back just a little bit to when we first walk into the room. So I'm gonna run up here and hit the switch, and what we want to do is spawn that clone like well before we actually hit the switch. So did this actually hit the... There we go. That's not optimum timing. If you're confused by what I'm saying, you'll see what I mean in just a second here. We don't want to spawn our clone up there. We want to spawn them over here maybe, because this is way, way closer to where the actual switch is going to be. So you got to think a little bit outside the box, right? And there you go. So we've done that much, much faster this time. And now from here, we can just spawn another clone and basically fit through this door in a couple of seconds here as soon as both of those switches have been pressed. And there we go. Relatively easy. Once you actually suss it out. Before you suss it out can be a little bit tricky. The major strength of the game is this puzzle design and the way that it makes you feel when you actually succeed at a puzzle, which is not always easy. There are some puzzles in the game where execution is very difficult, and we'll see a couple of those, because, I mean, we're going to see all the puzzles that I've seen in the game over the course of this video. So let me see if this is the one that I think it is. No? I can't tell quite yet. It is. Okay, so this puzzle is real nasty. This one took me forever to execute. Let me outline the puzzle quickly. There are... Don't listen to that guy. There are 3 platforms over here connected to 3 buttons over here. The buttons cause the platforms to move, but they can only move once. And I found this out because at first I was like, okay, it's very easy. You just hit all 3 buttons, all 3 platforms come over to this side, then you platform between them, and then send them back, and then you stand on that key thing over there, and that opens up the door, right? Well, it doesn't work, because you can only hit the buttons once each. So what you actually have to do is time this, and then platform across them in mid-air. So this is a very difficult kind of platforming puzzle. So what we're going to do is... we shouldn't spawn a clone just yet. What we're going to do is walk over here, and we're going to hit the first switch with our character. Like that. And then we're going to take it back to maybe here, and we're going to spawn a clone. And then we're going to hit our second switch like a second after. Alright, and then we're gonna... The timing on this had some real trial and error associated with it. Then we're gonna spawn a third clone, and we're gonna repeat the process. So about 2 seconds later. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Okay, so now we've got all 3 platforms that are gonna be going off here. And we're just gonna run, spawn another clone and run in the opposite direction and see if we can do this platforming puzzle. This might take me a couple tries. We do have a special... Oh... That's going to be a tough jump to make at the end. We do have a special jump mechanic, which is by holding shift, basically we can jump further. So let's see if we can't do that one a little better. It's possible... Yeah, sometimes you do clip through the platform. That one was not even close, though. Like, there's no climbing or, like, vaulting, clambering, you might call it. That was not even close. We might have to adjust our timing a little bit, but we might be able to do it with a little bit of luck. This is both an example of some of the coolest puzzle design in the game, in my opinion, and also some of the most infuriating. Because when you mess this up, you got a lot of work to do it again. So we're going to try this again. And what was my problem? I think I hit the blue one a little bit too close to the pink one. Alright. Oh, wait. Do it. Maybe I didn't hear the switch there, so maybe I've actually bunged this up a little bit. Alright, so we're running here. Keep in mind we've only taken like a minute and a half on this test track because of all the rewinding we've been doing. Which is why it looks like it only takes me like 5 minutes when I actually do this. So let's wait a little longer for Bluey here. That might be a little bit better. And then we'll take it back to here, and then same length for Pinky. Alright, and we'll try this. And now we're really gonna have to book it over to this side if we're gonna make this even close. Ooh, okay, no, this is actually good because we have some time. So we'll wait like another second. Then we'll do the jumps and try to platform appropriately. And, oh, you're so close. I think we can do this. It's just it's a little tricky. Alright, so jump like a second earlier. Land on the corners. And we made it. Okay, so now we can actually just stand on this this switch right here. Then rewind time to just before we jumped, started this puzzle, and just disconnect. And as soon as our, you know, our past version of ourselves manages to make this happen, we can sneak through here. Yeah, I almost got caught in that. There's another character that gets introduced. Don't sweat it too much. So I believe that is the end of test track number 2. It is. We'll get in this, and maybe because I beat it in a minute and 42 seconds, I still only got 1 star. That's actually kind of infuriating. On level 3, I got 0 stars, though, which should show you how, you know, amazing I am at this game. We're going to do a little bit of test track 3, but how do I feel about the game so far? I like it. It's not perfect, a little rough around the edges, not the most beautiful looking game. Soundtrack, you know, gets a little bit royalty-free-y at times. I'm not sure if that's actually true, and I mean no disrespect to the composer or musician or person handling sound design, but, you know, it's not a super memorable soundtrack or anything like that. But the puzzles elevated to a level beyond just superficial graphics, music, etc., etc. Story seems kind of not necessarily tacked on, but not that interesting to me relative to the actual puzzles themselves. But the puzzles, they keep me coming back. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating, but I think this is a pretty solid game, all things considered, and I'm not normally a fan of puzzle platformers like this. I'm not saying it's necessarily as great or as classic as Portal is, but I do think that it's more than just a, you know, a mere imitator. If it is just a mere imitator, it does a good job of setting itself apart. So, we're gonna run through this room, and the puzzles here do get a little bit tricky. So on this one, hit the switch, but then we'll also go back in time, bust our person out, and we jump onto this. This first puzzle is actually pretty easy. I know that I just said it was difficult, but ignore me. I'm just going to solve this without going through the standard trial and error. Gravity will just push this platform down. If we fall, typically we die, and it tells you that you died, and it makes you rewind, because otherwise that might cause some weird-ass paradoxes or something. Yeah, we also just can't fall off the platform here. Again, a little rough around the edges in a situation like that, but that's okay. So we're going to hit this button, like so, and then we should be able to rewind time. And then we'll just send our clone to go stand on this platform. And I believe there is another switch over here that we'll have to go back in time and hit. Actually, you know what we should do? Let's rewind time here. I think the better way to handle this... Is this the better way to handle this? I think a better way to handle this is to go back to this person. And we'll hit this switch. And then we'll watch... Because we only need to touch this button once. We'll watch the platform... And then when it gets to the end, we'll hit this other button over here, and this will make the platformer or the puzzle possible for us to solve. So is it at the end yet? The shadows get a little janky here. I remember. There we go. Janky shadows means we're good to go. So we hit that one, and then we rewind time. And this is where I wish we could rewind a little bit faster, but it's a relatively minor complaint in the whole scheme of things. So we rewind to the point where we can send one of our clones on top of this platform. Oh! I botched it a little bit. We should be able to jump onto it, though. Unless I'm mistaken. Oh, yeah, they'll let us jump onto it. Boing. Now, that's old me watching to see when the platform reaches the end here, which should happen any moment now. This is in the Euphoria engine, I think. I've forgotten what the Euphoria engine actually is. Most games these days are in Unreal or Unity. But it looks okay. And we'll stand on this, and this will unlock the yellow door. Now, the yellow door was many, many rooms ago. or many, many platforms ago at the very least. But now we've set the stage for basically everything that needs to be done. So we're going to create another clone. This clone will go and stand on this platform, which will be raised by that green switch once this platform actually reaches the end. It's really cool that you can actually see all of the characters, like, interacting in real time. It really gives you a sense of, like, you know, it's a little bit like Factorio. You're creating your own machine that actually solves this puzzle for you, and you only have to put in the most minimal effort after you actually do it for the first time, which is neat. It's kind of like you're automating the puzzle to actually complete itself, but it takes a long time and some ingenuity to actually come up with the mechanisms that will do that for you. So now, I believe that we can just basically head back here. I didn't hit that switch. Now I've hit the switch. And we can just jump over here. And we've still got a, you know, ye old clone from ages ago, Hugh Jackman in the Prestige style just hanging out over here. We will run it back, and this will open the yellow door, which I believe was on the second level. By the way, if you're seeing, like, these circles, we can go up to those, and those are, like, primary retellings of the story, you know, explaining what's happening in this space station. Is there a conspiracy going on? Isn't there? Etc., etc. Alright, this one. This is a cool puzzle. I like this one. So, basically, this is very elegant, very simple. There's only one platform, couple of doors we have to get to. Here's how we do it. Hit this, and then we jump across, and we want to make sure that we hit this switch as soon as possible. And then we teleport, not teleport, but time travel back to where we're, like, here. And then we just kind of hang out. It's okay, Ruka, don't sweat it, buddy. No worries. That'll open the red door, because we're stepping on the switch. And then we can jump over to that one, as long as we didn't bung it up, which I didn't, thankfully. This will allow us to hit the green door. And then if I pull it back just a little bit here and spawn another clone, this will allow us to then get to the exit, which I believe is just over here. So that's a really simple puzzle, especially relative to the one that I believe comes immediately afterwards. Is this it? It's hard to tell because we're in another one of these, like, social rooms. Oh, this does happen from time to time. I have found myself getting stuck in the environment occasionally. It's a pretty big deal, actually, because there's no just reset player option. You actually have to restart the entire test chamber, which is actually super annoying. So that is something that actually genuinely takes away from the experience. And it leaves such, like, a bad taste now, because I'm just going to end the video rather than doing the other puzzles over again just to show you the last puzzle, which is unfortunate because it introduces a new kind of gimmick into the game, which is the laser beams. My advice to you, don't try to do like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater style, you know, jumping on these railings. That can lead to some issues. But in any case, in spite of that kind of unfortunate bug, I think Project Temporality is super cool. If you're into Cube, if you're into Portal, Quantum Conundrum, you should check it out. It's not necessarily as refined, as polished as those games, but the puzzle design is really cool. It is not just a Portal ripoff. It adds its own unique flair into the situation, and I would recommend it. Of course, I don't know what the price is. If it comes out and it's $80, maybe you want to rethink that away for a sale, but assuming it's reasonable, check it out. There will be a link below to pick it up on Steam if you're interested, and of course, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button. It helps out a great deal, and of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.